Hello, everyone, and we are live with four wonderful poets today. I'm so excited to have what is it, episode 35 of Art for Art's Sake. This is actually the second time we're doing a St. Lawrence area poets group poetry reading, so another special treat for you. Art for Art's Sake is a new virtual program from the St. Lawrence County Arts Council where every weekday we showcase a different artist from our region, or originally from our region in some cases, so that we can show you all in the community all the amazing, fantastic artists and talent that we have here, so you can feel a little inspired and a little more connected to the people who are around you. We want to thank all of the artists who have participated in this program over the past few weeks, so since April 1st, actually. Thank you so much for showing us what you're working on. Some of you have done it multiple times, like John Berbrich here, who's going to be reading some more poetry today. I want to invite any artists or even people who do something that's really, really creative that maybe we don't usually think of as an art form. Artists of all disciplines are invited to sign up for one of these classes. We're still booking for next week, or the week after, or the week after that. So you can have some time to prep, but we can just get you on the calendar and have you rearing to go. I also want to thank all of our previous sponsors for this program. Various banks and other organizations in our area. Thank you so much for supporting your local arts. We really appreciate it. And I also want to let you all know that you can really quickly open up another tab on your computer, or maybe go onto your other device if you're on your phone watching this, and go right to slcartscouncil.org/give and make a donation today. We would really appreciate your support during this difficult time. Well, that's all I have to say. So without further ado, John, why don't you get us introduced and get everybody introduced and get started? And don't forget to unmute yourself.
Okay, yeah, here we are. Okay, John Berbrich, Sara Cantwell, Kris Phoenix. Is that what you're going by now? Kris
Rozelle.
Okay, yeah, okay. And Jamie Caroccio, okay. And I'll start off, and we're just going to go like around and around, okay? So anyway, I'll start it. This is called Fantasy City. I love to live in a city with old corners, bums on stoops swilling wine, poets in cafes talking with bright eyes. The rent is cheap. The heat doesn't always work, but no one cares. They put on extra sweaters. Buses wheeze along the main street, lurching back and forth. Great black clouds of exhaust puff from its pipes. Breathe in that darkness. The automobile junkyard is the cemetery where boys go drinking at night, sitting behind the wheel, gripping it with both hands like a racing driver, dousing his inner fires with mouthfuls of cool wine. Yeah. And then we'll do one more. It's called Gratitude. They tell me this is the season for gratitude. Okay, I'm grateful for many things. Grateful for many things that I have, and grateful for many things that I don't have. One main thing that I don't have anymore is soul-sucking people, vampirish figures, folding their invisible bat wings and stabbing their blood-dripping fangs into my good heart over and over and over, until honestly, I was nearly dead. They're gone. I never could see them in my mirror anyway, and now there's no danger. And what am I thankful for? So many, many things. Things I really don't deserve. Things I haven't earned. Yet here they are, surrounding me, strengthening me, loving me, even when I'm feeling crabby and acting ungrateful. And just what are these things I'm thankful for? That's another much longer poem. Okay, and while I'm on, I'd like to thank Maggie for putting all this together. It's just a great thing. All right, she's generating great energy. And now, okay, you want me to choose somebody? Is that what you want? All right, let's do Sara Cantwell, okay?
Of course, you make me follow you.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
This happens all the time. And I always feel like, the master's gone and now my stuff. Oh, okay, so I just picked a couple that I'm kind of smitten with at the moment. This first one is called Gravity Bender. And at the moment, it's the title poem for the new collection that I'm working on. So cross fingers, it stays that way. Gravity Bender. Before I knew its circumference, I knew the sun was a flower I would stretch my arms out to hold, crossing one bare foot over the other, and on wobbly knees, I would orbit some dandelion, mouse-eared hawkweed, or dill. Marionette spinning in the nothingness of a stage, planets rotating around my solar gravity well. Before I knew about centrifugal force, I felt like I could spin life out from my fingertips, a natural magic exposed in the wind as it rushed to do my bidding. Yeah, so that was the first one. And this one actually came from a really interesting conversation that I had with my uncle over the holidays about growing bonsai. And I took it in a really weird direction that I'm sure he didn't intend, but there was this like double meaning to some of the things that he said, and I had to turn it into a poem. So this poem is called Craftsmanship. My uncle once told me the secret of the art of bonsai, tree, shrub, or flower, was to teach the plant to stay small. They won't know how at first. The cells will multiply and spill forth thinking there are no limits on a body. There will be limits placed on the body. You have to get the roots of a seedling. You need to teach it to think of itself as small. A delicate, fragile thing who thinks little of anything outside the universe of its ornate box of roots, the tender rot in the span of a few years. Ugh, I like that one a lot. So again, thank you guys so much for inviting. This is a lot of fun actually. So I was really excited that you guys were like, yay, come read with the Slut People again.
So, Sarah, do you want to nominate somebody to follow you?
Ooh, how about Kris? You're right after me in the window, so.
I knew that would happen. This one's about circumstance, and you'll see the end. It's called Cocooned. Twisted, tightened, pulling, vines wrapped around her, caging her in. She pulls and struggles. As she does, terror tightens around her body. She needs wings, but she's spider-webbed, cocoon, trapped. She silently yells and screams in pain, struggles more loudly until the cocoon-like vines enclose entirely around her, grasped, pressed, surfacing. And there she lays, hopelessly time waiting until the cocoon is forced open and out pushes a butterfly. Excuse me. This next one I read last time, but there's a different audience, so I kind of wanted to put it out there again. I wrote this in 94 or 95, and I'm not quite sure if it's done yet or not, but I'm a little nervous, so bear with me. This one's called Waking Dreams. I paint these pictures on the walls of my mind, and the colors tremble when I touch them. Your memory is like singing at the edge of night. In your hands are two perfect white stars. I follow your footsteps in the sand like sunset, but the tide is sleeping where they end. The fire dances yellow in the wind, sparks tangle in the trees like midnight. I keep losing your face in the dark when your voice goes out like a candle. Clouds are walking down the sky, and sleep is easier than dreams. The wind touches the window wanting in, and I smile and tell it lonely secrets. My life is an empty room in a deserted house, dust and shadows wait behind the door. The endowed paintbrush gave birth to canvases. As clouds pass by, sunlight sparks on wings. Actually, the last part was inspired by a painting that was just in the Remington. I can show you when this is all over. I can show you that painting if you would like. I'm going to nominate Jamie.
Thank you, Kris. Thank you, Maggie, for organizing everything. And I just wanted to shout out John, Sara, and Kris for being here as well. I'm super excited to be on and appreciate you all being here. So a little bit of context. I am currently located in Madrid, Spain, but I went to school at, I went to St. Lawrence University, and I've been missing the North Country like crazy, especially now in lockdown in a big city. So I have a special place in my heart for the North Country. And actually, to kind of celebrate that, I'm going to kick it off with a poem I wrote called Driving to Russell. And just very briefly, the context of this is I was going to see John here at a play he was in Russell at an old opera house. And it was one of the most terrifying drives just from Canton to Russell in my experience. So this is a poem that I wrote after taking that short trip. Driving to Russell. The road stretched before us like the hungry mouth of an abandoned monster. As we winded toward the old opera house, we gave ourselves to the nothingness night had to offer. Even the moon hid. The path grew steep like a roller coaster without time. To build anxiety, the drop like a balloon popping inside the self, spilling its burning contents into the body. The car drowning in the depth of the night. Nice short one. And then the second one I will share, let's see, I'm gonna go with, this is one that I actually wrote. So I had the privilege of having a poetry fellowship while I was at St. Lawrence University. So it was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. I basically got paid to write poetry for an entire summer while being on campus. It was amazing. And so I was able to kind of write a book of poems. It was right after I had studied abroad in Madrid through the school. And so half the poems were in Spanish. I'm going to share a couple today that are in English. So this one is one that I wrote in that collection, and it is called 25 Wicks. And this is an address, don't think of like a candle wick. 25 Wicks. 30 years ago, he held an optimism that only time is cruel enough to fade down to the pale whites of his hands. One can only hold so much. He drives home from work, 5 minutes and a lifetime away from where he once was. Married 3 times, he's lost 5 children, not to death or war, but the busy flow of life. Pausing at the stop sign before his block, hands grip the steering wheel tightly. The young lady sits on her kitchen counter, legs dangling, tea will warm her lips, an afternoon phone conversation fresh on her smile. Grip loosens, hands sore from holding on so tightly. Foot pressing down slowly, reluctantly, he glides on down the street, parking in front of the place he now has to call home. The landlord's little girl plays out in the yard, her older brother teasing her from the upstairs window. He smiles, nods, steps down into his apartment. Inside, he drops his things on the countertop, washes his hands, and starts dinner for one. Opening a can of beans, the lady down the block reappears in front of him, painted over the empty space before him. Inside his chest, a tight grip loosens. Standing to eat his dinner, he stares out the window, watching the little girl and her brother play catch, a forkful of beans and an ache to feel the smooth stitches of a new baseball. Those are my 2 for now. I'm not sure who I'm supposed to pass it on to. Maggie, back to you. Or John.
Yeah, John, you can just kind of circle around, I think, in the same.
Okay, that sounds like a good idea. Thank you, Jamie.
Okay.
And I'm glad you remember that play. You remember that one? Remember what it was called?
I do not. What was it called?
The Mutants of Dr. X.
Mutants of Dr. Right.
Yeah, that was my first play that was performed, publicly. That was brilliant. I was so shocked when you showed up. I didn't think you were going to make it. Okay, I got 2 poems here. These are nice ones. They're nice ones, okay? First one's called Washing Day. He writes his poem like he is hanging out laundry on a line. Word after word after word, wet and dripping. Line after line after line, pulley wheel squeaking. Clouds wander blue sky like enormous sheep. A breeze like the breath of a baby begins to blow. He hangs these words out because he must. Some are underwear, small, white, bland. He hangs out personal items too, which anyone looking in the backyard can see. A word snaps like a towel as the wind picks up and the whole mass swings into the air, wooden pins clinging tight. Gentle light of the afternoon sun, at length, all is soft, warm, fragrant. He has again cleansed his soul. See, it's nice. And I got another nice one. This was from my collection called Balancing Act. And I got to find this. And this is a true story. I wrote it in second person. I was writing it to myself. Like I call myself you, you, you. I was talking to me, me, me. Okay. But anyway, so now you're 4 years old. It's the first day of kindergarten and your mother drives you to school, although you have to take the bus home. In those days, there were no special requirements for attending kindergarten, unlike the beginning of the 21st century, where you need to know more to get into kindergarten than to graduate from high school. But in those easy days, you needed merely to know your name. And if you're not sure, they write it on a card and pin it to your shirt. I had one. And the day goes pretty well. It's only a half day. You drink milk from a carton and eat a cookie and take a nap. And then it's time to go home. You all wait out back on the black pavement for the buses. There are two of them, one with a picture of a deer on the back, the other with a picture of a clown. These buses are not numbered because they don't expect kids to know numbers yet. And you have to get on the bus with the right picture because they go to different sides of town. And you are expected to get on the deer bus. But you look at it in mild disgust. A stupid, timid deer. No way you're getting on that bus. It would be different if it was a tiger or a dragon or a shark or a monster. No, you're not getting any stupid deer bus. No, you climb on board the clown bus because clowns are cool and off you go to the strange side of town. And the kids get off one by one and you're sitting up front by the driver. Now everyone's off but you. It's the end of the line. The driver looks at you and you look up at him, both wondering how this story will end. And that's my wife's favorite. I don't know why, but she still says she has to keep me off that clown bus, okay? Because I have tendencies, you know. Okay, thank you. And again, I want to thank Maggie. And let's go to Sara.
I have to say I love that poem too. If there was one that I remember and it's yours, it's that one.
Okay, and it's true story entirely.
Mm-hmm. I know why it's Nancy's favorite. Just we'll put it that way. And you know, just again, thank you guys for having me. This is amazing, and you know, I'm so glad that we could, you know, do this from, you know, scattered to the wind. So it's nice to be able to come back and see everybody again. So I've got two more, and I have a series of poems on motherhood. And so this is probably one of my favorites of that series. And I figured I would read that today. Pardon the traffic in the background. The astrolabe. The mater, mother, is deep enough to hold all the climates as we reach the solstice. She will talk to the stars for us and try not to lead us astray as the world spins around her, constant but beyond. Her continually syncopated heart leaving the ret of ribs that keeps her together as she tries to tell us about that time the celestial bodies touched her, found a home in her body, and called it life, called it earth at the center of her stereographic projection, called it love. How dizzying in its precision, that power to stamp on her arms all of the Milky Ways and etch the names of all her wayward children. All right. So I just love that. If you've ever seen an astrolabe, like it's just the coolest tool. And I guarantee it will inspire much poetry. And then this last one that I want to read is sort of a really fun one for me. I don't do a lot in the way of translation, but I was in a workshop on translation. And I want to thank Liz Bedell, who was a fellow poet of mine over at VCFA, who sort of led us through a little workshop. And so this is very loosely based on a translation of Louis Dupree's poem Le Manhunt. And it's called Excavation. You could possibly write I, a pronoun entered into, a canvas, an ephemeral stone that when the palm caresses its obliqueness, a fossil shape emerges, and then you dissolve into ashes. You'll ache for distress, for disillusion of your bones, that swell of despair swallowing you in the shadow of a poem, like another chance to come trembling into the world. Speaking cat, speaking dog, or some other shaggy tongue tasting the dust in the air and mewling about the flavor. All right, thanks again, guys. And I'm gonna pass it off to Kris again.
Unmute here. I just wanted a chance to thank Maggie again and to say I'm an Norwood area artist and a member of the Arts Council. Also, we're doing a program called Async Art, which brings poetry and art into the communities so that we're not trapped in museum setting in these times. So I'm excited about that project. So I just want to give a quick plug there. Really excited about doing that, bringing async arts to the community and putting poetry and art in different various businesses. That said, this one's a nice poem.
Kris, real quick, we did have a quick comment that people do want to see some of your artwork. So if you want to post it, if it's available, then please do.
I'd have to show it, not post it.
Well, I mean, just
do you
like,
want me?
Yeah, push it up. Yeah, you could. You want to? That's all.
You want me to get it and then show it?
You don't have to right now. I just wanted to let you.
Oh, okay. I post it in the group. Gotcha. Thank you. Okay, this one's a nice poem because most of them are so. I'm nervous because I don't usually do this. I've written a lot of poetry and it gets locked in my briefcase, and the ones that have come out, people love, and so I'm excited to do this. Thank you for the opportunity, Maggie, and for everybody here. It's great. This one's called Then. In the village, the children were what they always had been. A girl wanted to be an artist or a dancer. A boy wished for a horse or an elephant upon his bed. Autumn got chilly, winter hard, and no longer than dreams, but dreams came back, slippery and quick as minnows. And spring made you stop, look, and fall from the sky for keeps. One summer, tasting the salt on your lips, you promised forever, and the cricket's song was long and full before it got slimmer and quit. But the road and the river were what they had always been, and your heart would not break, not ever. This one's more of a deeper poem, but has a good message in the end. And I shared this one in Canton many years ago in '99 at an abuse rally called Take Back the Night. This one's called Ashes. A dirge of nails amid the black waves of pain. Even denial has abandoned me. I'm left on my knees in swirling ash, blown about in the wind of loss. The voices moan in weak tears of non-comprehension. Questions rise and fall unheeded in the vacuum of why. My clothes are torn and soiled. My hands are bloodied from pounding the concrete in futility. The emblem of my trust shattered in its fall from grace of your open hand. It burned in silence, and ashes are all that remain. Yet I also remain, my heart alive in the midst of this abyss. Tears fall from eyes that see, this chest aches from sobs I breathe the pain. I'm real in the midst of all doubts and self-recriminations and unanswered questions. Ashes cover me, and black streaks line my cheek, yet my soul is breathing with life. Ashes are of cold death, silent in sorrow. They only move when the breeze blows them away. Yet I will rise. I will leave here changed. I will stand and walk forward unaided, scarred, but no longer for the lessons, or stronger for the lessons learned, more powerful for truth faced. My will free to choose anew, and my steps more true to my hope. That is the Phoenix Rising, by the way. That's the shirt that I have on today. So it was cool to be able to share that. I'm also a little nervous, to be honest. Thank you, guys.
Is that my turn then? Yeah, cool. Oh my God, thank you so much for sharing, Kris. I just want to acknowledge you. I'm so glad that you shared that you were nervous. It's funny, I was thinking, you know, that like my confession here is I wrote so much poetry in college and like in school. And then since I graduated in 2014, so 6 years ago now, I have not written much. And so I think that a combination of knowing that this was an option to speak on here and a book that I'm rereading actually prompted me to write a poem a couple days ago. So it is a work in progress, but I'm going to share it. And I just want to give a shout out to the book, If You Want to Write by Brenda Euland. My dad, actually shout out to him, I think he might be watching. He got me this book at some point in college, maybe it was when I graduated, I don't know. But it was like a book that I kind of had on my shelf and just didn't really pick up and was like, oh, that's nice. But like, it's one of those like tactical guide books and I just wasn't into it. And then a couple of years ago, I found it when I was moving things around and I read it, and it is probably my favorite book that I've ever read. If you haven't read it, anyone that's listening, anyone on here, I highly, highly recommend it. It is amazing. And it inspired this poem that I wrote that, like I said, is a work in progress. So here we go. The title of it is You Will Know by the End. It is the man who weeps at the sunset, the 8-year-old girl who puts on a play for her family, the young woman who writes a poem, is rejected, and does not write another one, perhaps for 2 years. The 29-year-old who stops painting because nobody's buying her art. The 34-year-old who invents an imaginary friend to talk to so she doesn't feel so alone. The 64-year-old who writes, "You are strong, you will overcome it," on a Post-it and sticks it on his countertop. The 54-year-old who thinks about writing a post, remembers the dishes in the sink, and never shares her story. The 28-year-old who sits at her desk writing about these characters in her life, these everyday people who are beautiful, talented, and inspiring, and completely unaware of the creative power they hold inside that resides in us all. And so one important thing I forgot to mention at the start is, if for anyone listening that doesn't know about Brenda Euland and her book, she talks about the creative power being something that we all hold within us. We're all born as writers, artists, painters, dancers. And that's why I loved some of in your last poem, Kris, that you talked to, I saw moments of that too. And I love that. And I do believe that we are all writers, all poets and all that. And just over time, kind of society, our parents, school, family, whether they mean to or not, they kind of knock it out of us. And then we think that we're not this creative being that we really are. So that was that one. And I have one more short one I'll share. Which one did I want to share next? Oh, this one I found last minute. Okay, this one is a happy poem. It is called Porch Side, or My Perfect Universe. And I wrote this in 2011. I have it dated here. I believe it was a prompt for one of my poetry classes at St. Lawrence. So Porch Side, or My Perfect Universe. A calm bomb struck, slamming into my universe. I swam through its aftermath, a lamb floating in a cloud of infinite grass. My little hand held my chin up, reading one of my favorite novels as I lie in my stomach, my peripherals catching squirrels, chipmunks, and swaying trees that dance to the tune of birds and wind, competing for airtime. The thoughts in my mind remained as light as the air floating across my face, a brief settling of a fleeting breeze. Feet crunching gravel guided my gaze to the front road as Mom reached the cabin, carrying a smile and clean laundry. As she neared, I opened the door for her, embracing her presence and the freshness that escorted her. I sat on the couch as she rained clean clothes over my head, warmth and a softness falling down on my laughing body. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for sharing. Oh, Maggie's gone, huh? I don't see her. Oh, there you are. Okay. Do we have
Oh,
any other
no.
questions or anything, Maggie, from anybody?
Actually, somebody also said, Jamie, they want to hear your Spanish poetry too.
My sister.
No.
I'm sure some people would really enjoy that. So if you did want to share one, we'd be more than welcome to.
Oh, really? Well, how is the rest of this going? Is there time for one Spanish one?
Oh, yeah.
I would just,
Mhm.
one second, I'm just going to grab my book here. So when I was preparing for this live earlier today, I was like, oh, I was so happy because I wanted to read off of the actual page instead of the screen. And then I pulled up this book, and I realized this is only the Spanish version I had here. So now it'll come in handy. Let's see. I'm going to flip to a random page and just pick one. Now I'm going to get nervous because I haven't done, I work all day in English, and my only Spanish speaking is usually with my family. So I'm going to try to go slow. Let me pick, I don't want to take up too much time here. Let me pick a short one. Okay, this one's about Amsterdam. I don't really remember it, so we'll see how this goes. Los canales de Amsterdam. Seguí los canales desde el cuadro enorme colgado en la pared de tu cuarto. Un regalo de otra chica que una vez quisiste. Los seguí desde la cueva donde nos tumbábamos sitio y que hicimos nuestro en tu cama, sin preocuparnos por el tiempo que se iba flotando rápidamente hacia un futuro desconocido. Miraba los canales en aquel cuadro hasta que los vi en persona, mirándolos con los ojos que se quedaron en tu cuarto, mirando al cuadro. Al respirar, noté la humedad después de la lluvia que emitían los canales mientras paseaba por las calles, por los barcos pequeños, dejados como nosotros, manchados por un invierno malo. Si te pudiera enseñar una cosa, te llevaría ahí. Conmigo te enseñaría lo que vi delante y flotaríamos juntos los canales siguiéndonos, empujándonos desde atrás, desde tu cuarto. Gracias. Thank you.
Something about a house. I caught that.
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Awesome, John. I think it's you. You next.
I think that's it, isn't it?
I guess. Well, we can definitely be done unless anybody else wants to jump in and share anything.
I can read you another one from my true stories growing up on Long Island. Okay. Another true story. You wake up on something hard, foggy realizations, your head aches. You see a concrete wall, you're flat on a concrete slab. No windows, but long iron bars block the door. Jail again, but where? Attempt to piece the night together. You remember the Daisy, that bar in Amityville. You met Jim there, both of you hitchhiking from different directions. Who was playing? Some band. And you shot pool and drank brandy and beer and looked at girls. And some guy was playing darts, drunk, and tossed a dart into Jim's thigh. Jim reached down, cue stick in his other hand, pulled it out and said, "Here." A horrible fog creeps up on little cat feet. You recall images, little bits. The Daisy, quite a place. Small as bars go, a rough crowd. Some good bands. Kiss played there before they made it big, loading up all their equipment and driving all the way from Brooklyn. They were just starting the makeup thing then, and the tongue. And they really got the crowd moving, inviting everyone to come up onto the little stage, to scream into the mic. Dozens of patrons lined up, staggering. You took your turn, screaming your head off, your head now aching. You knock on the concrete wall. "Hey, Jim, you in there?" Either he got away or he's sleeping. A turnkey walks by. "Hey," you say, "where am I?" "Amityville." "Okay, you've woken up in stranger places." You're going to miss work, though. Stupid going out on a weeknight. Hey, what did I do? They found you passed out drunk in the middle of Montauk Highway. Oh, thanks. Want some breakfast? Yeah. Rubber eggs and desiccated toast on a tray. Wan light leaks in through a window somewhere as you wonder who you're going to call this time. It all worked out.
I do love your stories. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your work with us, sharing your talents. This has been great. And even some folks over from Spain. That's super cool. Well, thank you so much. This has been Art for Art's Sake, episode 35 with the St. Lawrence Area Poets Group. We join us tomorrow for the art of the mixed drink.
Oh, the mixologist. That's right.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much and have a great day, everyone.
Beautiful.